The idea of the webinar this afternoon will, of course, involve using your mobile phones, okay? So if possible, make sure that you have your mobile phone with you, because I will deliver this session here so you can follow, but there will also be some things on your phone, okay? I'm really happy to see you here. And it's amazing to know that this is open to the whole world, but I believe we are having many people from our country, from Brazil. So I see here some names. Please write the city or the state where you are based, okay? So welcome. I'm really happy to have you all here. And the first thing we are going to do is to get to understand the sequence of this webinar, right? I will share my screen with you in a minute. And I must tell you that I love it when there's interaction in the chat. Of course, when we are delivering the webinar, it is like there are so many things to keep track of. But it's so great, this energy. I can see that the chat has people from different parts of our country. So I'm really super happy. Thank you. That's the spirit. We will, of course, later have a moment for questions and answers, but feel free to use the chat. Okay, I feel so happy when I see people who are far away all over our country. Apps to foster students' independent learning. So we usually think, okay, she's going to come here with a list of apps. Not really. We are going to focus on some apps, how we can make use of those apps so that our students take part more actively in the process, and mobile learning, because considering our country, it's a vast country, and this is the tool used by the vast majority of our learners. And obviously, the context of the COVID-19 teaching that we've been going through still here in Brazil. So I will take this into consideration, how to foster this independence, and of course, there will be free resources for you to access along the session, things that you can use like right away. I must tell you that I'm a teacher. I'm currently teaching. Actually, I was teaching before the webinar, and I'm delivering the webinar, and I'll go back to class online with all the difficulties. I'm going to share some stories with you so I can relate. And I would love to hear from your experience and questions in the chat as well. The first thing we're going to do is to establish the apps. I forgot to mention, there will be a surprise in the end. Yeah, stay tuned. Remote learning requires communication tools. At first, we think of video conferencing tools, the most popular ones, Zoom, Meet, Teams. But we need to consider that in our country and in many other countries around the world, the context is not that simple. Many teachers have been teaching without video conferencing tools. So if it happens that you are currently teaching with a video conferencing tool, that's amazing because you can apply this and it's going to be much easier. But if it happens that you are having lots of difficulties, and this is one of the things we are going to talk about during the webinar, then there are alternatives so we keep moving. There are some apps like Docs, Classroom, that's the Google Assistant, and WhatsApp. And I'm going to start by sharing a Google Docs with you. This is my communication space with you. So everything I mention here, I'm going to share with you, and you are going to see here in real time. So what is it that you have to do? At first, go to your phone, to your mobile phone, open your browser. I use Chrome, but you can use the one you prefer. Please type exactly what is written. As you type it, be careful of small letters and caps and the slash. And I'm doing the same here. So it is written communication space. Actually, communication underscore space. You know that it must be precise. So I'm typing here in the chat as well. Italy / communication underscore space. Very well. This will lead you, and now I have to go back here. Let me show you. I've been alternating screens, and this is also a feature of teaching online. I believe you're used to it. So you've got here, if you have accessed the link, and this is how we are going to work. I'm going to keep this updated, and in your phones, refresh so that you can follow all the updates. So if I mention a link, if I mention a video, and the best part when I share the resources that you can use right away, okay? I'd like you to indicate in the chat if you have managed to open the link. Please communicate so I get to understand how this is going, all right? So please follow. Remember, the key for mobile learning is to refresh so that the updates come up and surface. Very well then. Let me go back to sharing the presentation with you. One of the things we do when we teach remotely is to multitask and go through one screen to the other. And then we have just started using Google Docs. Google Docs is mobile friendly. Basically, Google Docs is our white paper, digital white paper, okay? That's the first thing. There are other challenges when we are using resources during mobile teaching during the pandemic. And the communicative interaction is key. Our classes are not sharing materials and files. Our classes are promote communication among our learners. So there are some things to consider. Still thinking of Google Docs, a very important resource is the use of infographics. So infographics, you know, they are photos and they have messages and illustrations. So that's the very first thing I'm sharing here with you. If you refresh, you are going to have access to the infographic link. See, just popped up. As you click here in this very link, it's going, sometimes it doesn't direct you there, but just confirm the link. Infographics are a great way for communication. So here, instead of sharing a file in a difficult way, this is really easy to access, and you've got the questions. In case you are teaching remotely with a video conferencing tool, that's okay, you can pair students up for conversation. I'm considering here the context of teaching groups. So I teach groups of an average of 20 students. So you can have them in the breakout rooms, have conversation. In a more difficult situation, such as the situation of our teachers in most state schools in our countries, maybe especially in the beginning of the pandemic, where the video was not an option, they can interact by adding information in the Google Docs, of course, if you enable editing. I will also share with you, so you can take a look later on, a reference with a step-by-step of collaborating using our digital paper. So you can check later on, all right? The next thing has to do with considering the context. So everything, okay, we're teaching about how to go through a job interview. We're teaching about traveling. There are grammar things, there's language structure, all the parts of a course, considering all the CEFR levels. But one thing must be included for sure, the current news. How can we work with current news using mobile devices in a way that promotes communicative interaction? So now we are shifting to the next tool. And for me, this is commonplace, Google Classroom, but I know that many other schools are just getting started and need to see the potential. We are English language teachers, so the key purpose of our job is to teach our students how to communicate in English so that they can fulfill their dreams and their purposes when learning the language. Google Classroom should be used, especially in our context, to go beyond only sharing files. This is also a possibility to give our students a voice because it works like a social network. This activity illustrates one moment right before the school's closure, where the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 to be a pandemic. So it was really fresh. Let me show you the piece of news here. Actually, I'm also going to share in the document so you can access that. So this was the piece of news I used, and I decided to work with my students by taking a look at the language characteristics to describe a pandemic. So I selected some sentences here, and I dictated the sentences. Yes, that's right, using pencil and paper. Also an important app, if I can say so. Then they corrected the task in Google Classroom, and the next thing they had to do was to actually analyze the language features. I'm just going back to the presentation, okay? That's why you see so many underlines here and there. Of course, I'm keeping their identities hidden. But we see here the article. They used Google Classroom to check their understanding, and they went on analyzing not only the context and sharing their worries, but also observing the patterns of the language. Then, when we think of students' collaboration using Google Classroom, there's more we can do. One of the things that I started researching maybe late 2017, beginning of 2018, was the usage of, just hold on, please. Let me see something here. Okay. Yeah, I'm keeping track of the chat here too, okay? I love live interactions because, it's so much what is happening. Very well. So, when I started researching the use of artificial intelligence, available resources, so that we teachers could make use of them, that worked when I was teaching the students. But then after the online synchronous classes started, I said, okay, my God, it's so much. Am I able to actually get to integrate this so the students can use it and benefit from the possibilities? I'm going to play a short video for you first so that you understand the concept of speech recognition and voice command in this available and very popular possibility. Okay, so here we go. Oops. Okay, here we go. Well, this is the idea. You give voice commands, and of course, the students' phones, the settings need to be in English. What I recommend is that English is added as a second language. There are more details in an article I'm sharing with you in a minute, okay? And that's so cool, I mean. But how can we do that with our students when we actually have them so far away from us? So let me show you something here that worked. In Google Classroom, remember, this is still the second tool. Actually, it's a combination of two tools. This is one of the groups I teach. We were studying about the weather. And when we were studying, I just thought, okay, why not? I just told them, do you think this is possible? Can we give it a try? And we did. So the question, what's the weather like in? And then they would research. And the idea is to ask the artificial intelligence. I'm going to try to demonstrate what happens, okay? So for instance, hey, Google, what's the weather like in Montreal today?
It will be mostly cloudy with a high of 26 and a low of 19.
So here it says cloudy, and it mentions the degrees. This is an A2 CEFR level, so just so you understand the context. Obviously, they needed to repeat this more than once and worked in breakout rooms. I assigned different cities. Take a look at the results. So there are many cities, you see, Dublin, Seattle, Montreal, Alberta, and Nagoya, London, Amsterdam, Glasgow, Cape Town. And that was a beautiful moment. And by the end of the class, they said, teacher, that was cool. We liked it. Yeah, because they have to listen to the temperature in degrees. There was even like Fahrenheit and Celsius. Wow. They have to listen to the city. They have to copy. They get excited to see what is happening all over the world. I'm going to share with you also the article on the usage of artificial intelligence, okay? Pretty soon. Don't worry, there are more details there. But maybe you ask me, Raquel, so this is okay if I'm working with an elementary level group like A1, A2. Are there other possibilities of this interaction for students, for instance, if we consider upper levels or even higher? And I would say, yes, it all depends on a strategy. Let me go back here. Very well. Let me check if everything is okay. I would like you, please, to type, yes, in the messages so I can follow too. Very well. Okay. One of the major concerns when we are teaching online, it's actually got to do with the connection and the quality. So it's so reassuring when we get confirmations from our learners and right here from you, okay? So let me go back to sharing my screen. Very well. So we move on to strategies again, right? Everything has to do with how we direct it. This is how I used it with a group that was upper level. This, I'm sorry about the audio, it was before the pandemic. And of course, there's background noise, but I'll send you the link so you can listen. So this group needed the definition of personal branding. And everything when you use artificial intelligence, because we're still moving on towards a better scenario, it's important to direct your questions in a way that it understands and replies by speaking. Maybe it takes a while for your phones to get used to it. I was told that sometimes iOS, it takes a bit longer to get to understand how it goes. But key for everything is to keep training, right? Very well. So this is so important. And then we are moving on. When students are using these possibilities of Google Docs or Google Classroom or the the Google Assistant, they are actively going and looking for information, listening, speaking, writing, interacting with their colleagues, and making sure that what they are typing and speaking is there for further reference. What if your students miss the class, for example? Now, I would like to ask you to get a QR code reader or maybe your camera pointed towards the slide. Scan this QR code, please, right? That's how it goes. As you scan it, you will be directed.
Hi, my name is Alessandra. I'm from Brasília, Brazil. Here there is coxinha. It's a kind of chicken with pastry and it's really good. And you?
So this is a student speaking. Can I see in the chat if you were able to scan, please? Can you type in the chat, please, if you were able to? Very well. Let me check here because too many things to see. All right. Let me go back there in case you have just arrived. So this is the QR code. And this QR code directs us to the voice of a student. Yes, to a short recording of a student. And it's so important to give our students voice, to enable them. We work on their getting confident on the process of speaking. I'm sure that when you are teaching, especially when you have a new student, they say, I don't feel confident when I have to speak. I feel shy. I think I'm going to say everything wrong. They're very self-conscious. We are self-conscious, right? So this is a great possibility to give our students a voice. This is a real student, and Alessandra is talking about a very famous Brazilian dish, which is the coxinha, all right? This is an important element of our culture. Okay, I'm going to share this with you in case you are not able to scan the QR code for any reason. What I'm doing, I'm sharing a link so you have an alternative, okay? It's in the document. So if you go to our ongoing communication, by the way, let me go to my ongoing communication. See, still here, there are more things. And every time you refresh, there's more. Okay, so you can keep track of everything going on here. So this is the link to Alexandra's voice. And also, if you want to use it with a student, I'm also sharing with you the QR code. So again, every time you refresh, you get to see something else that you can use right after the session, for example. When I think of materials and learning, and now I have another page. This is from the book Evolve. Yeah, I'm going to tell you some mobile resources from the book as well, because this is also part of integrating technology. And this book has been very helpful in terms that we had to shift for online teaching so quickly. Of course, there's context, there's diversity, there are elements from different countries, and why not feeling proud of our country? Why not learning how to talk about things that are so common all over Brazil? I also posted for you a link of an article I wrote some years ago about typical food in the northeast of Brazil, okay, as part of talking about our diversity in the country. So as you can see, the book comes along with possibilities for mobile learning. And when we think of mobile learning, of course, it goes beyond the app or beyond scanning. So there are voice possibilities, listening possibilities, and also guided research possibilities where we see this icon here. Many times, remember what I told you before in regards to the assistant? It's important to direct the question so you obtain the desired result. Then, our next step now, I'm going to share with you, let's go to the shared document, and maybe somebody could type the link again, please, to help out, because maybe somebody missed the ongoing communication link. I would appreciate this help. And I'm going to share with you a link to a brochure so you can actually experience the book in a digital way. So we're just going there. Yeah, I've just posted. Let me show you how it goes. Hold on, please. This is the ongoing communication. Let me share that with you. And if you keep refreshing, you realize I'm sharing more things here. This is the article I told you about, talking about tapioca, fubá, okay? It's worth reading, I think. And then when you click here on your phones, so let me do that in my phone, okay? So this is my phone, refresh, and then, oops. Oops. Ta-da! Connection again. Very well. Another feature of teaching online. Okay. Yay! What happened is that the photo I realize now on mobile, and that's why it's so important that we see how you fix that, but the link is now under the QR code. As we click here on the link, which I'm not sure I can do without looking, this is going to direct us. Remember, sometimes this happens. It's also important to learn when we are using mobile, so you just confirm it's the link. You get a redirect notice, and this is access to an executive preview. And let me see if this shows you better. Yay. And that's how it goes, so you can have the experience. This explains all the features of the book, and as you keep going, you are going to realize the book pages are here. Let me show it also on the screen in case somebody is just following the video, okay? When we're teaching online, and you know that because that's the new world we've all been navigating through, it is so important to consider the learner's experience. So what I'm doing now here gives you access to the book itself, and then you can see it. So the visuals of the book, but what is really different is that apart from the diversity, the culture, the elements, the huge support for the teachers, you've got ready examples from the students of that peculiar level. So this is A1. So the examples are from students who are learning at this level. Also, the mobile element guidance. I feel really happy, and this helps us in many ways, because not only does it help us with our very own groups, but it also helps us when we have to, if you teach in a school, substitute for another teacher. There are so many strategies, see? And also teacher development to help you out, okay? I could go on and make this bigger so we get to understand the context of this lesson I chose, okay? Can you write in the chat, please, if everything is okay, if you are getting to experience leafing through the digital book, please? I will need some help because it seems, because I have so many screens here, I don't get to actually follow the chart. I see some people sympathizing with the internet problems. I'll tell you a story later because everything is wild. Let's move on, okay? So thinking of apps and mobile learning from a perspective that goes beyond only sharing resources. Sorry, that's not the screen. Let me go back here. This is so important when we are teaching. It's essential, actually. And I feel really happy, and I feel so happy to be one of the teachers who contributed, and my experience being in the classroom every day from Monday to Saturdays and teaching adult learners night, Saturdays. And I know what it is like to juggle so many things. So I feel when I was invited to help develop the mobile elements, that was super. I said, wow, it's a huge responsibility. Been working on that since 2017, and also a privilege. And also it's a Brazilian voice there. It's a woman who researches technology, non-native speaker from South America. So I feel that I represent in a lot of ways, okay? And I'm so happy that the market for English language teaching and writing has been more and more inclusive and receptive, and promoting, embracing the diversity. The next thing that I want to share with you is an initiative by Cambridge called Support Every Teacher. This particular initiative involving Evolve book, sounds like the same sound, will give you access to all the PDFs, the digital mobile-friendly PDFs to teach. And I separated them by level. So let's take a look at this right now. So I'm sharing with you in our ongoing communication. Remember that? Because if I tell you, I'll send this later, what if I forget? So life happens now. Let me see if the update is here. I like the delays too, because this is so real life. Real life every day, yeah. Okay. All right. So as I refresh my file here, my internet is still working, but this is, oh, oops, it's here. Check this out. All here for you to play. That's how the English teachers play. So if you click on, there's the level A1, A2, and this is going to open the PDFs. And there are two important things to help you out here. Let me share that with you. Okay, so let me show where we are right now. And this material is really so helpful. Look, let's suppose I go to A1 level and click here. This will give you access not only to the PDFs, but also to the teacher's development part of the book, to the context of the activities. So this is very important, especially when we think of a new material. But as you scroll down, you've got all the PDFs for, let's say, A1 levels available. And if you look here, let me share one that I have already selected for us to have this experience. Let me check if everything is okay here. Right? Yes, we teachers multitask like crazy. So let me share with you here this material, okay? Yeah. The next things I'm going to share with you in our communication. Photos. And I always double check looking in my phone. This is also part of the learning experience as I refresh and then, okay, oopsie, they're here. So you can actually see one of the resources. So you've got here, there's one, both of them. One, it's regards a family and they're organizing and they're thinking of who to invite, and the other has to do with traveling. Of course, the photo quality is not the same quality as the files. That's why I'm sharing the links to the files, because it makes all the difference. And then as you download it, I'm downloading in real time. It is so important to have the real experience, not the studio experience, okay? Very well. So as you open this, so here's my phone now, and then you can see much better. And of course, you can enlarge, okay? So let me go to the same page I directed here. I see there are many comments, but I'm not able to read them right now. Let's see. I'm trying to refresh here and see how that goes. Very well. Okay, it seems now I've got the update right. Thank you. Now I can see that. I don't know what happened. And thanks for the people who are also sharing the links, okay? And this is collaboration. We help each other because we have different possibilities. It all depends on where we are based and how the connection, what the connection looks like, okay? So I've got here on my phone, and I really want you to have this experience of taking a look at the activities. And actually, if you can't see properly, if you have got myopia like I do, so you get to maximize and see. And this also helps our learners. So keep track of this, really useful, okay? Very well, we are moving along. Evolve is also one of the nominated materials for excellence in innovation. So I'm really excited. There are so many people from many countries involved, and this diversity brought lots of great ideas. So fingers crossed here. Very well. And we keep moving with ways towards developing this independence in our learners. They like to keep track of what we are teaching. So our next part here has to do with pronunciation. Remember the part where they had to listen to the Google Assistant or also speak, giving directions? So many times they have these questions, and when we were at schools, I would say, teacher, how do you speak this? How do you speak that? But it's also important to enable them to go and refer to a dictionary where they can check the pronunciation and also see if there is any sort of difference if we consider British or American English. This shows scenes from my class too. Let's watch. So let me share a link with you. Right? Let me open here the dictionary to show you something. It seems so simple. Yes, really. Dictionaries, they help us in so many levels. I'm showing here the one I use more often, but you can choose other digital dictionaries, of course. So if I write, let's say, this word, and they get to listen to the and this is so exciting, but it needs to be part of their learning, okay? Let's move on. So many possibilities, right? That's why I'm keeping track of things in our digital document. So by the end of this webinar, you've got references and where to click, both to study and also to use later on in your classes. But check this out. Internet provider having connectivity issues. Just happened to me, okay? Like before, we started at 3. So at around 25 to 3, there was no internet here. Suddenly, yeah, there was a connection failure. I was teaching. Then I very quickly had to act. And of course, this happened before, but I never thought that this would happen exactly in the day of a webinar. I'm talking about technology and remote teaching of all the luck, okay? So let me show you one strategy that I used, okay? And when I use this strategy, of course, when something happens to one teacher, it happens to all the teachers or to a vast majority of the teachers. So if I'm having a technical problem here in São Paulo, in the east zone of São Paulo, I know that my colleagues who live close to me are also going through the same difficulty. And obviously, so are our students. But as teachers, we really want to do something about it. We want to fight to the last breath. Let me show you a short video I recorded explaining what I did in this situation. Mobile to the rescue. I did this like basically less than an hour ago so that I could finish the class. I have just shared with you the link to this full video and also the link to an article that I wrote explaining every step and the context. It's in the World of Better Learning blog. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this blog. Teachers, writers, materials writers from all over the world share their field expertise. And I value so much the field expertise because you know what's going through. So here, if you want to see the details, I explain, and voila, there is also the possibility to listen to the blog if it's better for you. So you can either read it or listen. This is also an initiative for inclusion. And it goes on and on explaining the terms. So I have just shared this in our ongoing communication. Yeah, internet problems happen, and that's how I'm going to end my session here when we think of internet connectivity problems. Students also face connection problems. Like I've been teaching via the platform Zoom, very popular in our country, but you can consider the same for Meet or Teams for Microsoft. Then what happens if the connection is really limited? This happens across our country. This happens in all the countries, everywhere. So I just found out that pairing up Zoom with WhatsApp works. How is that, Raquel? I was teaching, and there was this student. She was really trying to access the class to follow, but she would stay like for a minute, and then she would be kind of kicked out of the room because of connectivity problems. So one student had this idea, teacher, I have her WhatsApp number. I can call her. I said, okay, go ahead. The students also help us navigate through our technical doubts and difficulties. And what happened is that I think it's a bit difficult to see, and one is here, and she was holding the colleague throughout the class, happy as can be. Yesterday I was teaching and we had the same problem, and nobody had the WhatsApp phone, but I could access. So one of my students followed the class through a tripod here. And she was talking to the others. And in the end of the class, she said, teacher, and said, can you hear? Yes, fantastic. When we want, things happen. It's possible. This happened with teenagers. This happened with the kids. This happened with adult groups. They feel so happy to help each other. We learned so many other lessons during the pandemic that certainly go beyond only online teaching and tricks and techniques and amazing display of technical abilities. We need to go beyond that. I'm going to share with you some things that I have been learning and registering through videos and through blogging, which, by the way, it's something that I strongly recommend you do, that you consider blogging. I'm going to share with you also my Instagram page. That's where I communicate with teachers in the stories, in the photos, but especially in the stories, because things happen on the go. I love this word because it shows things are in movement and evolving and advancing, and there's progress. So these are the things I have learned. I have learned that empathy and understanding of the current context really matters. First, we connect as a human being and we look at our students and see, okay, is everything okay and all right with you? And then the other things start happening. At some points, we may have more or less difficulties. If you are teaching teenagers or young learners, reach out to their families. Make sure you can communicate with them. Have a parallel tool besides the video conferencing one. So my tool with you today was the ongoing communication, because if something happened, I could access here and type something. I'm okay, I'm going back. This can be Google Classroom, for example. Also, the parallel tool is amazing for asynchronous learning, when students, for whatever reason, need to check that later, not able to check this at the same time. Involve the students and encourage peer support. It is amazing how much our students are willing to do. And I'm talking teenagers as well, adults, because we think it's more natural for adults to feel like stepping up, and it is. But the teenagers are creative. They do think outside the box. Sometimes I just stop and listen. Okay, what's your idea? Then share your findings. Okay, it is so important to share our findings so that people learn from our struggles and our victories. Or it's not that they are going to copy us step by step, but insights. I believe in the power of insights because they help us change directions and find a way. But most importantly, right now, live one day at a time. Okay, this is how we can clap in an inclusive way. Live one day at a time. We've been going through a pandemic and challenges of many sorts. And I'm sure that all of us bring a story. Our students bring a story along with them. So it's really important that we take a deep breath and see what is possible and work on our mental, emotional health, and that we help our colleagues. It's amazing if you have friends, groups of WhatsApp for your close friends in your school. Cambridge has in Facebook a Facebook group for teachers. I'd like somebody please to post that link and we can integrate even more there. I'm going to also post the link to my Instagram account here in our ongoing communication. There's a video where you can see, I also updated the artificial intelligence link, and I will share with you some further reading if you believe that is something cool that you would benefit from that, okay? Our work as a teacher matters. You're far away, it matters. You teach in a state school, you teach one-to-one, you teach in a language school, it's a huge language school, it's a small language school, it matters. Feel proud and share in every way you can. Start small by making a comment, adding a hashtag, you know, there are many ways, but feel proud of your classroom. Really, this is something that I really want to share with you. And now, I'd like to open for questions. Let's see if I can actually get to read the questions. There are so many updates. Let me try and see here. I see some people have shared links. I'm trying to find those links, okay? So I can see the questions. I can't get to see the questions just yet. So I'll need the help of somebody, maybe somebody from Disal to help me out here. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to follow. You were doing so well. Okay, I'm really trying here. I just think maybe I try another way. See, it's all about finding a way around. Okay, I found it. First question, thanks. How do you manage breakout rooms? Well, the breakout rooms, first, the task must be really clear. Also, I copy the instructions in a Google Docs so I can flash them to the students when they are in the breakout rooms to remember, okay? So some strategies I use, I ask them sometimes to take a screenshot, or maybe more frequently I use Google Classroom to share, and I keep flashing sentences with key points to observe along the task. To make it easier so I don't have to go typing, I prepare this in a Google Docs. And of course I visit all the groups, and then while I'm visiting a group, I also get to flash commands and instructions, okay? Let me see. There's another question here. Students not allowing cameras. I think we need to have an understanding two ways. Thanks for your question, Ricardo. First, there are some students who actually haven't got a camera. But it's 2020. But we live in São Paulo. Yes, some people haven't got, they just can't afford a better device, and they would want to, but they can't. This is scenario one. But what I believe Ricardo is mentioning here is scenario two, where the person just simply refuses. There are many reasons for that. I request, I make fun, but I never force it. And I've seen students engage just by speaking, and students engage even by typing. Okay, so what's the best way to keep teenagers focused? Give them many tasks. Yes, so a task here, click there, task here, present there, so they are busy and producing. And trust their abilities. When you say, okay, can you help me with that? Especially when it comes to technology, it's amazing. Katya, thanks for your question. And there's another one. How do you work vocabulary during lessons with real beginners? So I use definitely the dictionary for pronunciation. I like using lots of other possible features in Google Assistant. Of course, we have chorus repetition because this is very traditional of elementary lessons. But I have seen that adding the element of mobile learning is amazing, really. It does make a difference. And let me see here. And then I'm trying to keep focus in both things. It's amazing. Make use of what technology allows us. And remember when I flashed the QR code with this elementary learner, they like to see examples of people who have been learning at their level. So it's like, okay, this seems like something I can do. Maybe this looks like something I can even improve. I'm going to speed up here. Jeanette is asking, what do you do when students get bored with the online classes? I mean, if you overuse resources, chances are, but it's not only that. One thing that I do, I avoid the use of slides. So I'm using slides here because it's a presentation, but I really avoid that. So my tasks, many times instead of actually using a slide, I dictate and I tell them, get your notebooks, get a pencil. And then I dictate the tasks so that they have to copy. See? It's a challenge, it involves them, it moves them away from the camera. I'm gonna choose, I think, 2 more questions because I also have to teach, okay? I'm just loving this so much. How do you feel? Okay, there's a great question here, let me project. How do you make our students feel eager to use the devices? Well, every time students see a purpose, it seems easier. But one thing, contrary to what people think, I do not overuse. I do not use many resources at the same time. So I believe one strategy is to keep it very simple. So if you go like one game here, one share this here, one video, if it's too much, they get so tired. So choose your weapons and use one at a time. I would love to be here answering more questions. Let me see. Basically, many questions are also under the same theme. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is the last part here. Let me see. I would like to go back. Okay, I'm trying to keep up here. Probably later. Our part that I promised, apart from everything we learned, has to do, apart from the questions, with a raffle, okay? So yes, we're having a raffle. And in this raffle, we are going to have 10 of our audience here, the teacher audience here, and you're going to get this prize, which is an appointment book and magazines. So let me get to find it and share with you, okay? You could also, I would like somebody, please, if you could, to help me out, to share my Instagram account in the chat, if possible. Okay, I'm getting here hold of the names of the participants for the raffle. What happens is the following. When there's a raffle, it will contemplate only people who are based in the Brazilian territory, because there are so many barriers and difficulties in terms of sending promotional materials abroad. So that is the reason why we are going to keep it there. So I'm getting here. Let me share my screen with you. It's going to be easier then. Okay, I'm waiting because there was an error, so I'm waiting for the list here. Meanwhile, let me show you this. So we're going to have a raffle. Very well. Okay. Live interactions, amazing in the sense that it's so real, but also full of surprises, okay? I'm here waiting for that. Okay. Let me see if I've received it. I think so. All right, there are, okay, found it. So let me do the following thing. Clear my space here. And off we go. And I'm gonna share the screen with you so you can follow the raffle, right? And this will be sent to you who live in a Brazilian territory. I feel so happy that there are teachers from all the countries also following us. This is so cool. So let me share my screen with you again so you can follow the raffle. There are 10 kits for that. Okay, I believe you can see that. So there are 10 kits. If it happens, I believe everybody who's here, let me just get the names. Off we go. 10 names. Ready. Wait. Uh-oh. I'm gonna try again. Hold it. Let's see. It worked. Okay. All right. Now I've got all the names, all the names, all the names, all the names, all the names. So let's go again. Let me share the screen with you again. Off we go. I love raffles. Okay. So here are the names. So if your name is here, okay, so you're going to get one of the kits. Let me go back here. Very well. So there are so many questions. I hope I can catch up later, but it's time to say thank you for watching, for being here, for the support, and reach out because together we can do even more. I hope you are all thriving and learning with your online classes, okay? Thank you so much. And now I'm going back because I also have to teach. Take care.